So let's start with what is the first thing you want to know?
So the first thing I want to know
Mhm.
is someone like me, as we kind of covered in the intro, I have a huge surface area of audience and thousands of people. How do I validate, or first of all, how do I identify and validate among this, thousands of people that I have in my audience, who needs me the most, especially for a paid coaching service? And this is
Mhm.
something I struggle with. And I've had, of course, like I said, like I've had clients, but they were very serendipitous and hard to predict. That's never a good business model, right? And
Mhm.
they all came like whimsically, like they just like showed up and I served them. But I want to know if there's a way intentionally that I can make it
Mhm.
a practice that I constantly validate who requires my services and how do I design that experimental validation.
Sure. So let's start with the premise that there are a lot of different people you can help in a lot of different ways. So rather than thinking about who are the people that I should most help or who are the right people for me, let's define what it is that you actually want and
Mm,
attract those people. So I think you're looking at it as like, where are the sort of right leads? What's the service? Where are the leads coming from? I like to assume that you're going to be successful whichever direction you go. Right.
mm,
I think a lot of people sort of are worried about failure. So they're looking for what's the path that I'm least likely to fail at. Whereas I look at it and go, let's assume that you're going to be able to figure out how to succeed whichever path you want to go. So then the question becomes, if you assume success doing A, B, or C, or helping A, B, or C type of person, who do you most want to help and what do you most want to help them do? So let's start there because then you want to engineer those attracting those people, right? So who do you think you would most want to help and what would you most want to help them do?
I think specifically first time founders, they tend to underestimate the power of distribution, content, and marketing. And those are my strengths, natural
Mhm.
strengths. And I don't need to like talk to like third time, fourth time founders who already know these things. It's like peer to peer. We don't, I don't think there's much of my value add. I think the thing I find the most joy in is helping these first time founders crack the code about distribution. How do you build
Mhm.
distribution into your daily practice, weekly practice, when you don't have a full time growth hire or a growth team?
Mhm.
So then that's where I kind of come in and I give a lot of advice. The line between product advice that I give about how do we tweak the product so that it has
Mhm.
a viral component to it, the PLG advice, and then content advice around you should post these number of things about your niche. You should
Mhm.
be top of mind for your customers all the time by creating content and threads. So those are like the combination of things that I share with them. And I find the most joy when they get their first paid customers of 10 paid or 20 paid or something like that. So I think that just comes to mind. I don't know if that is the right niche, but that's one of the top niches.
Okay. So I love that you said that you walked right into the trap, right? So people get hung up looking for the right paths.
Yeah.
There's an infinite number of right paths,
Uh,
right? The key is instead of looking for the right path, the right audience, the right niche, the right whatever, you're picking the one that you want and figuring out how to make it right. So
mm,
that's different. You can be plenty successful serving first time founders with a focus on distribution and marketing and all the stuff that you just said. Once you make that decision, and look, decisions can always change and your niche and everything
mm,
can evolve over time. But if you say right now, I want to focus on that, then the question becomes to go back to sort of your original question. You're not identifying, you're now saying, how do I attract those people that I most want to work with and
right.
think I can best serve to raise their hand to come to me, whatever. The next part of this question that I would have to you, kind of dissecting your original question, is okay, we know we want to help. You want to help first time founders. You want to help them with distribution and marketing and content and X, Y, and Z. There's a relatively clear point A to point B transformation there, right? This is where they are. This is where I want to help them go. The next part of that question is, why do you want to do it by coaching? Because
Mm,
there's, and again, infinite ways that you can help them. What is the reason that you want it to be coaching?
great question. I think because in this, let's say, in a lot of the tactical things that I share and advise founders on requires like nitty gritty deep dives into their
Mhm.
personalized scenarios, like
Mhm.
customized situations, unique problems that they may be facing about a particular landing page not converting or a particular cold email sequence not converting. And so it's like hard to generalize some of the advice. I mean, there's some
Mhm.
parts that are like I can generalize, but specifically I can speak to that business and say, hey, look, here's like the four things that we need to work on. Let's workshop it
Mhm.
together. And there's a sense of like collaboration, like let's workshop it together that I
Mhm.
enjoy with that person. And so I think coaching is like a natural extension for that
Okay.
because I just enjoy the kind of back and forth and brainstorming with them.
Okay. So we're gonna get into some of this in deeper detail, I think, in some of your other questions. But I think that's really important to put in your head because if you want coaching clients, part of the argument that you're making, sort of drawing a line in the sand, not in a combative way, but you're essentially saying, look, the reason people should hire me as a coach is because it's going to be the most effective or the quickest, the easiest, the combination of this is the best way to help you get what you want and get from point A to point B. You want to make that case in your own
Mm,
content, in the presentation of your coaching. It's not just, hey, I can help you in this way. It's there's a reason that I'm choosing to help you in this way because I believe this is a more
the most
effective
effective.
way than a
Yeah.
course, than reading a book, than
Right.
consuming content, right? So you're making a case and an argument there
Mm,
so that it's not just, hey, I'm offering this result to these people, but there's a reason why I'm offering it in this format.
mm.
And that will resonate highly with some people
Yeah.
and with other people, it won't resonate at all. But that doesn't really matter because what you're trying to do is not be an okay option for lots of people,
Right.
trying to be the perfect option for some people. So going back to your original question, how do you sort of surface those leads? Part of how you surface those leads is drawing that line in the sand and saying, this is what I believe. This is why I believe in coaching. This is why I believe you need a coach. This is why I believe I'm the one that can help you.
Can I
That,
ask you a
yeah,
question?
go ahead.
To kind of like make this, because in my head, there's like a lot of hypotheticals that are floating around, as you said,
Mhm.
that are from drawing from your own experience when you were a
Mhm.
coach.
Yeah.
Can you give me and the audience an example of where you went from where maybe, were you ever in my situation early on or in the
Mhm.
beginning? Or, and so I'm curious, like, give me an example where you went from my situation where you're like confused about what the kind of client you want to serve, blah, blah, blah. And then you were like, no, here's the line I'm drawing.
Yeah.
Here's what it's going to be about. And you actually now have tangible proof that has worked. Like
Yes.
maybe you had 4 clients of that top, for example.
So a couple different things. So one is early on, like you, I was like, I could help a lot of people in a lot of different ways.
Right.
Right. So you could hire me to write social posts for you. You could hire me to run Facebook ads for you. You could hire me to have a sort of one off consulting call. You could hire me to help you come up with an ongoing strategy, a
Right.
million different things.
Right.
Right. You could hire me if you were starting a newsletter. You could hire me if you had an established newsletter,
Right.
all of that stuff. So along the lines, as I did a lot of what I'm saying to you and thought through, like, okay, just because I can do these things,
Doesn't
all
mean
things being equal, assume success. What's the stuff that I most want to do? What do I most want to do? And how do I think I can best help people? I can run Facebook ads for people and it's helpful. I don't really want to do that.
mm,
And to be perfectly honest, they're probably better off hiring someone who gets full time Facebook ads,
mm,
whatever. So I started to eliminate a bunch of that other stuff. I started to focus on I don't want to do done for you work. I don't want to write for you. I don't want to manage your social posts. I want to do higher level strategy. I'm going to teach you and show you how to do it. I'm not going to do it for you constantly, right? So that narrows down what I'm doing. And then building in stories and reasoning about why it's not make believe, but that is true. I have a post that I highly recommend, and we'll put a link in the show notes. And it was literally titled, Read This Before You Hire a Social Media Consultant.
nice.
And it's all about all the reasons why I believe people make mistakes when they hire social media consultants. And it was almost an argument not to hire a social media consultant. And and I was essentially expressing my point of view. So for yours, it could be if you're a founder, read this before you hire a coach. And these are all the reasons why you should or shouldn't or whatever, why a coach instead of a course. Again, drawing that line in the sand. And one of the things I said in there, for example, was that I believe when it comes to social media, people overpay for social media management and underpay for social media strategy.
Yeah.
that they hire
Right.
a person or an agency to manage their stuff. But in
Right.
reality, that's not hard and you shouldn't pay a lot of money to
Yeah.
do that. What's hard is the strategy of what you
Right.
post. That is a point of view, a line in the sand that's going to
Right.
resonate with some people and not resonate with others. But it's going to resonate with the people that I most want to work with, the
Yeah.
ones who want the strategy.
No, that's brilliant. Yeah.
Yeah. And so let me give you an example. And obviously we're just talking about this now, but I was looking at what I believe is your current consulting page, right? At
Right.
intro.co/KP. And
Right.
again, we'll put the link
That's
so that,
actually one of the many, but that's also my problem. Just like you, like I have so
yeah.
many shots of consulting
Yeah.
avenues that are all over the place.
Yeah.
And what I want to do is consolidate everything to flow through a single funnel, which I have to get there.
Yeah.
But anyway,
Which is also common and becomes much easier to do when you've thought through strategically
yeah,
how you're approaching this stuff. But let me give you, so just in looking at that quickly, and I
right,
just want to point out a few things that I do think are relevant to this in terms of what we're talking about. So the first is on the page, you have this about me section. And I understand that it's titled about me. And you say, oh, storyteller, podcast host, community builder, passionate about no code and the building and public movement that's helping startup founders build an audience on the internet and attract opportunities. Built over 15 no code projects, all in public, grew my audience from 414 people to over 30,000, blah, blah, blah. Interviewed world-class entrepreneurs. Then at the bottom, you have things I can advise on: community building, no code, startups, podcasts, growing an audience on Twitter. I love helping others and can't wait to connect. All of which is true and fine and shows some of your credibility and all of that, right? But it actually should lead with how you can help people and who the specific people are you want to help. That your about me isn't actually about you. You're giving all the sort of credentials, but
mm,
really that person that's looking at that is trying to figure out whether or not I
is
should
this for
hire
me?
this guy.
Is this for
And
me or
what,
not?
what you
Yeah,
want to lead with is I help these people get this transformation.
sure.
And the other thing is you list, what's interesting is like, so you list, when you say, oh, I can advise you on X, Y, and Z, number one, you're doing exactly what we just talked about, where you're like, I do all these million different things
Yeah,
versus going, I want to help. And again, you do that and everyone does that. It's a natural instinct because you're like, I can do all these things and I don't want to lose business or turn people away. But in doing that, again, you fall into the, well, this guy seems okay for everything versus the guy to talk about to help
yeah.
me in this specific
You know what's
thing.
funny about this? Like the way you present, even like this sort of conversation that we're
Mhm.
having, is something that I had early on about myself, my own content career.
Mhm.
And I took this intentional step in 2020 where I was talking about everything on my tweets, everything under the
Yep.
sun. And then I said, no, I'm going to be known to be the building public guy.
Yeah.
And it was a tongue in cheek joke. Of course, I knew that it was like a very, very clear sort of tongue in cheek reference,
Yeah.
but I was so obsessed and focused that I'm going to create the most content on that
Yeah.
topic, which I did. And now nobody even bats an eye about that
Right.
at
And I'm
all.
sure it helped you grow and take off because all of a sudden
Massively.
people,
I
yeah.
went from 0 to 3K in like 2 years. And from there,
Yeah.
everything I touched was thousands of followers because I was that guy. Of
Yeah.
course, that also alienated people who wanted to talk to you about other things.
Yeah.
Or they thought like, why is this the only thing? I'm like, no. That's the entry point to get to me. I offer other things, but that's what I'm drawing. That's the bat
Yeah.
signal to the world.
Yeah.
And it's so funny because I haven't made the transition to take that approach
Right.
into
Carry that
coaching.
over into your coaching.
Yeah.
And so, so here's the other thing, right? So you say, and again, these are little things, but I think these little choices and these little words make a huge difference, right?
Yeah.
So, you say I can advise on these topics, but you're not actually talking about goals and results. So a little bit with the grow an audience on Twitter, but you say I can talk about no code and startups and podcasts. That's really different than going, I can show you or help you grow your podcast.
Yeah.
I can help you monetize your podcast.
Yeah.
I can help you launch a startup versus manage an existing startup. Getting way more specific will be helpful as opposed to, I generally I can advise you about these topics.
Yeah.
Well,
Any idiot can talk about podcasts. It's not
right.
big.
What does that
Like,
mean? You want to talk about
Right.
you want to pitch the results that they want. Another thing it's missing is you don't really give a clear reason why people should choose you as opposed to other options. So you give your background, but there's not a lot of like, this is why. There's a lot of people that coach on these topics.
Right.
Why you, right? Yes, you have credibility. So that
Right.
speaks to it a bit.
Right.
A lot of people pitch their services in a way that this is a thing that will help you get this, but they sort of forget that you're not just trying to convince them to hire a coach. You're trying to convince them to hire you as opposed to another coach or another course or whatever.
Right.
The other thing I would say, just two more sort of quick minor things here. You have a lot of testimonials on the page, which is awesome. Social proof is great. They're very generic, right?
Right.
KP was great. He
Right.
really helped me. And when they're very generic, people are less likely to believe them. Not that they're fake, but the point of a testimonial is to help you overcome an obstacle.
Yes.
So there's a book called The Brain Audit. Have you ever heard that or read
No.
that? Highly recommend it. So there's a section in there about what he calls reverse testimonials that are ridiculously powerful. It's just literally a series of questions to give people to answer, and then how you construct testimonials that are more powerful. It's probably a couple pages. The whole book's good, but that's
Right.
probably a couple pages in the book, and it will totally change how you get testimonials. And one of the things, like the first question they have you ask people is basically like, what almost prevented you from hiring KP?
Mm.
And so what you get is you then get testimonials that start with, I wasn't sure it was going to be worth the money. I wasn't sure he had enough knowledge about podcasts. And now, but then I did it. And so your testimonials are now literally addressing obstacles.
Objections. Yeah, absolutely.
Right. Objections. Super powerful. And then the other thing I would say is there's a calendar on here for people to book you. But what you wind up, just like what anybody winds up with, is a calendar of open times that sends a message to people that this guy isn't really in demand. You think it's convenient.
Right.
It's actually working against you
Mm.
because they're going, this guy has 20 open times and only
Right.
2 that are booked. So subliminally, does that make someone scarcity and
Right.
urgency drives sales? So that convenience is actually working against you. You'd be better off, even if you were going to use that calendar, let people request a book with you and then send them the calendar, as opposed to having it on what is the equivalent of your sales page.
Mm.
So cool. So
I
a
love
bunch
it.
of stuff for you to think about there.
I think I'm gonna literally, I'm not joking, but I'm gonna like actually listen to this own podcast myself, take notes, and make some edits, because I just to what you said, like there's a lot of difference between presenting yourself as a business,
Mhm.
because then you could get objective, and you think it's all of the stuff you told me make a lot of sense when I think of on deck or day one.
Yeah.
But actually, to your point, customer psychology doesn't judge if I was a business or if I
Yeah.
was creator brand. They want to hire you for, and they go through the same sales psychology, which I just touched on. So
Also, everything becomes much easier when you're clear on exactly who you want. All the messaging, everything becomes easier.
easier.
It's much harder when you're not sure. Like I could do a bunch of different stuff, and so that will help you.